Hey everybody, this is Al Naj from the Direction You Empowerment Dynasty, and you're listening to the Unapologetic Women podcast, the show for female leaders who love to live their legacies unleashed, unlimited, and unafraid. If this is a community you would like to be a part of, visit directionyou.co/unapologetic. Today we're talking about a holistic approach to fertility with Eli Huang. Eli is a natural health practitioner and fertility coach for over 13 years. She is also an NLP master coach, master hypnotherapist, and beauty therapist. She runs 2 clinics in Sydney, Australia, as well as online coaching. She has a passion in women's health and aging. She combines ancient wisdom and holistic healing with NLP coaching to help her clients achieve optimal health and wellness in mind, body, and spirit. Thanks for joining us. This is Eli Huang. Awesome. So, Eli, what does it mean to you to be an unapologetic woman?
Look, I think these days so many people want to please others, right? To the detriment of like hurting themselves, their own values and beliefs just to keep other people happy. So I believe like to be unapologetic is to stand your ground, right? Have your values, and it doesn't matter what other people think. These days so many people are so concerned about other people's opinions and values, and it's like, if you stand your ground and you truly believe in something that's passionate to you, what does it matter if other people think? Everyone is entitled to their own beliefs and their own opinions. And if, look, there's going to be people that don't agree with you, that's all fine. But I think it's good that people understand where you're coming from and that, that's what you're passionate about. So I really believe that, we shouldn't be apologetic for what we truly believe in. I think we should be honest. We should say our mind and our piece. And then, yeah, I think that's how we have real conversations. Like, there's nothing more boring if everyone's agreeing with each other, right? We need honest communication. And look, I was at an amazing empowered women's event last week in Melbourne where there were some of these top women around Australia, like top business women. And the topic was like, what do women really discuss? That is really like deep, interesting, honest conversations, stuff around domestic violence and politics and, the state of the world and where the discrepancies are between male and female. So when we can really stand our ground and just be, in alignment with your own true values, I think that is really important.
Beautiful. And yet, for somebody like myself, and I'm a really strong woman, it took me a journey to get to being unapologetic, especially
Yes.
because I was brought up in a culture which was very much submissive,
Yeah.
and whatever was said by the elders, I just had to eat up, even though inside I was going, oh, no, that doesn't sound right at all. It just doesn't
Yes.
feel right. Did you find that as well? Did you just pop out like this, or was there a journey for you to
Oh,
kind of go, this is unapologetic?
Oh, look, I had a really, really tough journey because my parents were immigrants from Asia, and my dad's got very staunch Chinese views, right? He didn't grow up in China, but he took on a lot of the Chinese communist beliefs, right? And so growing up in Australia, and when they first came here, they couldn't speak the language. They held on to a lot of those strong Chinese views, and it was very hard culturally because I grew up in Australia. So I remember growing up as a child, and they were always like, oh no, it's done this way, like you've got to be home at a certain time, like we don't talk back to parents. We even had to be, I was talking to someone this morning about how culturally when we talk to people growing up in China, my dad does this a lot. He doesn't look people in the eye because he says that, oh my gosh, that's like, if someone who's like a teacher or an elder is actually looking at you, you've actually got to, bow your head and actually, not look up because it's like confrontational, right? So I've always noticed, even till now, he still doesn't do it, but I've had to change it because I see people in patients like, how would it feel if a patient's talking to me and I'm looking down? But he still does it because it was so ingrained in him as a culture, right? And the Chinese and the Western culture is so different. So I remember ages ago, I saw a picture, like a year 12 photo, a formal of what people are like at the year 12 formal. And the Chinese, right, are all standing in a line. They're all like, proper. And even I went to a New Year's Eve in Hong Kong one year and I was like, oh my God, people are so well behaved here. Like everyone is walking in a line, whereas Australia, we're rowdy and we're like taking our year 12 formal photos. We're just like crazy, right? And so it was really hard to have that real differential between like that pull between my parents going, okay, this is a culture, this is how you should be raised. And then being in such a westernized culture, I had to always apologize and go, oh my goodness, like, okay, well, how do I behave? Like, I was so confused all the time as a teenager. It's like, I always almost wish that like my parents were like Australian because like their parents would be talking to them about sex and all of that. It's like, oh, that's a taboo topic. Like, women do not talk about like money and sex and like all of those really like interesting, like really important topics as a teenager when you're confused, right? And so, it was really hard growing up with the two different cultures. So I had a lot of friends that were Australian and westernized, and then those which were like really traditional Chinese. And you could see it was so different. So we would only hang around the Chinese culture because we were familiar. Like even then, it was like, okay, because we fit in, right? So, it was really hard to fit in culturally because there was such big discrepancies. And so I've really had to learn over the last sort of, even finishing uni, how to really adapt to being here, even though I grew up here, but when you have really strong Chinese culture and they only hang around Chinese families and all of that, it was really difficult to fit in and be, sort of real, like be true to yourself. So,
Mm. And what's interesting for me, I come from a country, from South Africa, with so many different cultures. And one of my observations was always a lot of the times with amalgamation of cultures, a lot of the good gets lost and a lot of the bad actually gets taken on
uh,
for the person going into this new culture. However, you have somehow amalgamated the best of both Eastern and Western in your life and also in the work that you do, if I'm understanding this correctly.
yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, you have to adapt, right? And because look, most of my clients are very westernized, right? So there's not a whole lot, but I think it's about finding your true place and what you really stand for and what works for you. Look, there's some great Chinese cultures which I really respect. Like I believe in being polite to your elders, to your parents, to your grandparents. They raised you, and there should be a level of respect. Growing up, I'd see some look not culturally, but it doesn't matter. There is some, Chinese children which are still rude, right? But there are some parts like there are some doesn't matter about culture. I think it's just the way they were brought up, right? And so when you see people being rude or, swearing at their parents or grandparents, like that is not on, right? There's just certain things that, there's a level of respect. So I think, look, we do have to stand our ground, but there's just that real respect that people have to have for people that have been through life, have gone for more experiences. So yeah, I think I've got to take the best of what really serves you and what's really valuable to you. Like, yeah, I don't believe in like being disrespectful of our elders. And some people, I think it could be teenage years, but even then, I see them as adults. Like they actually see their parents as being peers. But as our culture, we've always said, okay, they're our parents. There's times where you can talk to them like a friend, but there's other times when like you've got to really respect them as a mom. They've brought you up as a parent, right? And especially our grandparents, they even live life longer. So I think it's adapting what you really resonate and what you believe to be like true values to you in all the different cultures, right? So, yeah, it's hard, but I think as you grow, you sort of take on what you believe to be, sort of aligned with your beliefs and values.
So let's go straight to what it is that you are doing, because that for me is you really bringing together East and West. So do you want to tell the listeners exactly what it is that you do and why it is that you're doing this?
Yeah, so I think it's really interesting because my culture is also brought together. I'm a Chinese medicine practitioner. So it's really Chinese, really Eastern philosophies. And I really love how it's such a rich culture. China and Chinese medicine and Eastern philosophies have been, there for thousands of years. So they have some really amazing philosophies and teachings that has really made, the medicine rich and really going to the root problems of people's illnesses and really treating the person as a whole, right? Not to discount Western medicine because it's great for, all the surgeries and, the things that they do as well. But when you look at sort of the chronic illnesses that people have, they're not, Western medicine doesn't treat the root problem. You go to a doctor and you've got like chronic high blood pressure and they'll just give you a pill, or you've got cholesterol, right? So I really love the whole Eastern philosophy is looking at the person as a whole. So when you do that as a Chinese medicine background, you're sort of aligning mind, body, spirit. And that is really the essence of how we can actually reach optimal health and wellness. So my passion and what I do for work is Chinese medicine, incorporating it that to help women to fall pregnant, to really align in sort of getting their health to a really good place where they can have a baby, because I'm seeing that there's a lot more struggle with stress and mental illnesses, especially now with COVID, right? There's so many people going around who've had 3 years of really hard, stress and family and isolation, all of that. So it's really affected people's stress levels. And perhaps that's really, impacted fertility and health. So my passion is to really help women to fall pregnant, either naturally or through IVF, but really going to the root problem of why that is happening. So we look at a holistic view on a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspect. So yeah, I sort of incorporate sort of some of the new Western philosophies of how to really look at mental illness, how that's affecting their chemistry, biomechanics, and all of that sort of science, as well as looking at, going back to the root problem. We're not really getting in tune with nature and really tapping in as energetic beings and just really, looking at ourselves instead of putting our power into, doctors. Like I have a lot of women that'll go to GPs or to the fertility specialists and go, okay, I've been trying for 3 months, 6 months, what can I do? They'll be like IVF or something. And instead of really going, okay, before I even need to look at IVF, let's look at what I can do to get my health back on track. So that is sort of my passion, is to get women to really take control of their health on a really deep level, on sometimes not just physical, but on a mental and emotional level, because we all know that trauma and stress and all of the sort of family issues that we've had growing up, a lot of it is actually coming from our parents, right? They might have gone through stress or trauma. So that's impacted on them growing up, but it's all at the subconscious level.
I
So,
love that.
yeah. So it's
What
really about
brought you to
incorporating all
that?
of that.
What
Sorry.
brought you to that though? Because it's fine. It seems to me that most of us aren't just born with a calling anymore. We kind of like grow into our calling, so to speak. So
Yes.
was there something pivotal in your life that happened that had you go, okay, well, this is actually where I can best serve right now,
Yes.
where my talents are?
Yes, for sure. So I've been a practitioner for 14 years in natural medicine. And so the turning point was when I had children of my own. So my son is almost 7 and my daughter's almost 5. So I remember like when I was going through my journey, and it's like, oh my gosh, there's nothing more beautiful than to be able to conceive, like, a lot of women, most women, that's like they've wanted to be a mum all their life. Like I've known since I was a teenager that I've always wanted to be a mum. And so to be able to have that and to hold a baby in your arms like your own child, right? It's sometimes the most, wonderful feeling. Like there's nothing more than just holding your own baby in your arms. So to be able to help women who are struggling in that journey, right? And there's no one that they can really turn to for support. And even if they do need to go to IVF, they still need to prepare their bodies, right? And so if I can help them in any way to realign their bodies to get back into the core issue of what might be holding them back from falling pregnant sooner, that's my passion, because I see the joy that my 2 children bring. And, I can come to it from a place of experience, but also, what to do personally. So that became my passion. So I was like really obsessed with like, how can people fall pregnant sooner? How can they really get their health into alignment so that it's not a long struggle, right? Some people struggle for 3 months all the way up to like 10 years,
Wow.
right? So you can see 3 months is not long, but it sort of gets a little bit tiresome after like a year. Like they're thinking, oh my gosh, like what's wrong with me, perhaps, right? All the way up to years and years of like trying to have this elusive baby that they really want. All that consumes their thoughts is just having a child. And then they've got to take their partner into account, right? It's a whole relationship dynamic. It's like if their husbands or partners want a child as well, and it's been years, like that puts a huge emotional strain, stress, right? Physical, mental, emotional, financial strain if they're needing to go through lots of specialists and testing and doctors. So I'm incorporating lots of my all my different techniques and trainings into really being able to help these women, because yeah, being a mother myself, I think I can see the joy in that. And so I just want to help these women to be able to hold a baby in their arms as soon as possible. So that's my passion, is to help as many women get to that place sooner rather than later. Yeah.
So this could be completely ignorant, but as I'm listening to you talk, one of the things that really come up for me as a woman is that relationship between me and my body.
Yeah.
And as a young girl, I used to be a dancer, and I always had a very unhealthy relationship with my body image, my weight, and all of that. And so I can only imagine the excruciating pain that must be going through for a woman who can't fall pregnant. And why is my body not
Yeah.
working properly? Why are you not actually doing what you're told to be doing? Or do do these women start feeling like a failure because the body mechanics isn't working, but it's
Yeah.
actually not the body mechanics at all?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Look, you've hit the nail on the head. And that's the majority of the women, right? I think as the journey for fertility gets longer and they're struggling for longer, they start self-doubting. They're like, they hate on their body. They're like, why is my body failing? What's going on? They're not getting the right answers. They're like, everyone can fall pregnant but me, right? They'll get their sisters and cousins and friends. And that's like a sort of a stab in the chest, right? It's like a stab in the heart. Every time someone else has good news, as much as I want to be happy for them, deep down they're like, it's that little bit more stabbing. It's like reminding them that, oh my gosh, like why aren't I able to do that, right? And so it becomes like, that's why I say I incorporate both the physical, the mental, and the emotional. Because look, some people come in and they're in perfect, what they say, physical health, like their hormones might be aligned, they're eating really well, but they're going, why is it not happening, right? So that's where I sort of start looking at the mental and emotional stuff. Like over time, it can really affect them mentally. And we know now how, our thoughts control our emotions, which control, what's happening with our hormones and our bodies. So if we're getting more stressed out month upon month, right? And it's like, if you get that blood test, or, you test on a stick and it's like, oh my gosh, you're still not pregnant. It's like that stress, right? The stress of when your period comes, right? So it's such a vicious cycle, right? As much as you want to be positive, as soon as that 2 weeks is up and your period comes, it's like, oh my God, it's another month of waiting. It's another month of trying to get on top of this. And so, yeah, it's a real punch in the gut, like both from, you really feel like, oh my gosh, what's happening to my body? Like they don't think that it's going to take them this long, right? Most people think if I'm going to have a baby, it should happen pretty quickly. So when the journey becomes months or years down the track, you really start questioning yourself and you start like going, oh, what's wrong with me? Like, and it's really tough. So I really see how supporting these women from an emotional perspective, trying to bring them back into alignment and say, look, it's not you. If we can start shifting the way you think about your thoughts and go, let's be positive. Like, there's nothing worse than keep being negative, right? So it's almost like trying to start a clean slate when I see these women. It's like, okay, how can we start being more positive? How can we start feeling love towards our body? And then it's really fascinating how things change really quickly when you start seeing that positivity and focusing on that instead of focusing on the negative. As hard as it is, right? But if you keep spiraling down and month upon month, you get worse and worse and worse, it's not going to work any better, right? So if we can sort of lift these women up somehow, give them some hope, find out what the true cause of their health issues are, and be able to give them practical skills on a physical, mental, and emotional level, then they can see hope. And then when there's hope, things can start, working in the right direction for sure.
So, question to you: do you only work with women to fall pregnant? And the reason I'm asking is, for instance, I fell pregnant without planning to be pregnant, and I did not enjoy either of my pregnancies because I just felt like I was not in control of my body. I didn't really know anything about the pregnancy. I went for my checkups. The doctor was like, yes, this is this or this is that. And I've almost felt a little bit robbed of the pregnancy process, and I saw other women going, "Oh my God, best thing ever!" And I thought, really? I just vomit all the time. I just getting fat, bloated, feeling uncomfortable, and nothing was really given to me to support that. Do you work with women who are pregnant, for instance, to how to enjoy the journey of pregnancy?
Yeah, look, that is, well, first of all, going back, like pregnancy is 50-50. So not only do I help women, but I'm seeing the importance of men too. So I was at a fertility seminar yesterday and there were so many statistics around, look, it is 50-50, right? Like, I mean, it's the egg and it's a sperm, right? So both the man and the woman have to be in perfect or optimal health when they conceive, because all of that genetic information on a mental, emotional, and physical level is all DNA, it's all information, it's all energy that is then transferred to the child. So more and more now I have to treat the partner too, because even though they say, oh yeah, they're in good health, yeah, but how can they be in the best health, right? Well, how can we be really at the peak of our health, that when we have that child or when we do conceive, the baby is having the best health or the best possible start possible to its life. So then going back to when you say you're pregnant, look, it's hard to know how people's pregnancies are going to go. My pregnancies were both really good. But some people, yeah, will be vomiting the whole, 9 months, right? And it's not pleasant, but that's the way our hormones are. So I do support women both in the preconception, both in the conception phase, in the pregnancy phase, and post-conception, because they're all stages of supporting the hormones, right? Helping the women through the pregnancy. And so, yeah, Chinese medicine, natural medicine has some great things to support women, people getting like really bad nausea or bloating or back pain or cramping. So all of those things can really support women as best as we can. But it's hard to know. That's just dependent on each individual's hormones. And some people, yeah, just have the unlucky hormones of being really, really sick during pregnancy. I guess that means it's a stronger baby. That's what they say, right? It's like it's a stronger baby, right? So yeah, it's hard to know what how people are gonna how they're going to go throughout the pregnancy. But yeah, we're definitely there to support women throughout their whole journey. And yeah, so support mum and baby. It's really important that throughout pregnancy you are supported, you are given the right advice, because that's really important. You're growing a baby, you want to know what you can do to really be in the best health possible, right? So that you have a really healthy baby at the end of the pregnancy. So yes, for sure.
Are you finding people are more open-minded now to holistic medicine, Chinese medicine, than what they were in the past? And why do you think that that possible shift could be happening right now?
So there's a few things. I think one, definitely there's lots of studies that are now coming out of the benefits of, say, acupuncture together with IVF, or in support of like pregnancy and helping hormones. And even like there's some great studies about how it relaxes and de-stresses the body, right? And that's the main thing. Like stress is one of the biggest causes of infertility, right? Because when you're stressed, your hormones are out of whack, and that's been shown. Like when you're stressed, your cortisol levels literally rise, your adrenaline, all the adrenals are out, right? And that affects your thyroid, which affects your sex hormones. So there's a whole actual chemistry that's actually happening. So with acupuncture, there's lots of studies about how that actually helps with your stress response. So yeah, so that's why I think more people are turning towards that. And also, I think more and more people are using acupuncture and seeing the benefits of Chinese medicine, natural medicine. So then they refer their friends. So I sort of started not trying to go into fertility. It's like it was general practice. And then when you help sort of a few people fall pregnant and then they tell their friends, oh, have you heard about the benefits of acupuncture? It's kind of just spiraled. So I've really been getting into women's health in the last sort of 6, 7 years after I had children of my own. But yeah, it's kind of like now more and more people, and there's more and more studies being done. And so, and now with social media, it's, people just look up, if they've tried Western medicine and like, they're not getting clear answers, the GP's like, oh, look, just go to IVF. And they're finding the things on how to really support their bodies naturally and holistically that really work for them. And they feel aligned with, then yeah, they're willing to give it a go. I mean, why not? When you're spending a lot of money on IVF, you really want to make sure your body is supported, because it's not the best process and you don't want to be repeating it, right, for so many cycles. So if you can really support the baby, and if you do need IVF, then yeah, you're in a better position as opposed to those who are, and even naturally, like I've seen a lot of women who look at supporting themselves, their bodies naturally, and then they fall pregnant naturally. So that's, yeah, so I can see why, more and more people are turning towards that. There's lots of GPs and fertility specialists now which have heard about the benefits and have read about the studies of Chinese medicine for fertility. So yeah, I think it's just now getting more and more traction, and there's more and more studies. So as more and more people go through it, they can actually see, more statistics. So I think that's probably why.
And yet, with all medicine, you get the people who are really practicing medicine, and you get the people who have no real qualifications and who are practicing medicine, as in all areas and in all professions. If somebody is at a point of kind of going, well, I want to investigate holistic medicine specifically for falling pregnant, what advice would you give to those women of what kind of research should they be doing? What is it that they should be looking for? Who do they know who to go to?
So in Australia, we have a website called APRA, right? So APRA is the Australian Health Regulatory Board, and Chinese medicine and acupuncture actually registered modalities of treatment in allied health. So there's an APRA website, so AHPRA dot NSW, I think it's .gov.au or something, but you can Google it, and they have a list of all the different modalities of allied health. So all practitioners which have gone through proper formal training are actually on this database. So we do need to be registered. We need to pay for a registration, and they're quite strict on the requirements of actually getting a proper qualification in Australia. So we're just talking about Australia. So if you really are looking for someone in Chinese medicine or acupuncture, then I would suggest going to the APRA website, and then you can search upon your postcode or somewhere close to you or close to your work where you can access a practitioner which has been properly trained. If they were to look for someone more specifically around fertility and women's health, then you'd have to look at, then once you've looked at that practitioner, maybe their website will say that they sort of have a passion in more women's health, right? So they sort of have that expertise around that. So yeah, that's sort of how it would go down, is to actually look at sort of, I'm sure each country has their own sort of registered modalities and what sort of government, so that they know that those people have been going through the proper qualifications. And so, yeah, so they're government regulated. So that would be my advice. There's great people like naturopaths and dietitians. And so it depends on what sort of holistic help. You can actually have a whole team of people that are sort of, going to help you, with your health overall. So I have people who see like a naturopath as well as Chinese medicine, um, and a few things. So they might have a team of doctors and a fertility specialist, right? So that team is really going to help them on their journey. So it might not be just one person can do it all, right? So I really believe that, yeah, it could require a whole team. So that's really looking at your own research, maybe getting some really good recommendations for friends or family that have gone through it. So you know that they're respected and that they've gone through the proper training.
And do you only work locally with clients, or do you provide online services as well that goes beyond the Australian borders?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, my passion is to really help as many women as possible. So, acupuncture, I know, is just something I do in person, but I really run these courses online. So, you can contact me, I'll send you my details, but they can really reach out because, as much as it is, as long as you get people sort of really good advice on where to start on a physical level, right? Looking at diet, lifestyle, nutrition, that will help with their hormones, right? Then, like I said, we really look at the mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects. So I really combine a whole holistic sort of outlook on how to really get that person in alignment, through mind, body, spirit. And that way you can really then be able to go into, or getting your body to start working towards, better health, and optimizing your hormones. So yes, I really, yes, for sure. I help people all over Australia as well as internationally as well. So yes, that's my passion, is, when you're working online, you can really be able to reach such a big group of people. And look, it's a worldwide thing that's going on, right? Fertility and health is actually declining, right? They said that, especially around fertility, that birth rates are dropping. So yeah, it's harder for people to fall pregnant now. So yeah, and so I think it's just more than just a physical problem at the moment. There's so much stress and emotional problems that is impacting people's physical health.
And I know that you've gracefully gifted people a session with you. So can you tell
Yes.
me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so people want to reach out. I'm happy to jump on, like a discovery call to see how I can best help you. If I can help you, that's great. But yeah, I'll put a link to how they can jump on and have a discovery call, fertility discovery call with me, where we actually go through and find out what the root cause of their problem is, and then seeing what the best program or how it can best help them with their journey. So yes, that's something that they can do.
Fantastic. One of the things I want to ask all my guests is, what do you take an unapologetic stand for in this world?
I think, look, unapologetic stand is just to really believe in your body, in your health, right? I believe, look, I'm looking at say, in the lens through fertility. I think really be empowered that your body is capable of having a baby, right? It's capable of, being a mother, right? And, don't let all the other influences say, oh, look, you're too old, or, like these days, like I was talking about yesterday in my seminar, and like they say women over 35, they're considered the term like you're a geriatric mother if you're over 35. And it's like, that's most of the people getting married and having children are between 35 and 45, right? A lot of women are starting families later. So don't let people, say that that just because your age is there. If you believe you can be a mother, there's always ways around it. There's some great, technologies. IVF wasn't available for women 20, 30 years ago. So we've got the technologies, we've got more and more people in this field that are really experienced in what they do. So stand your ground. If someone won't help you, find another practitioner who will really listen. And yeah, don't take no for an answer, but really stand your ground and be strong. And if that's what you want, like, find the right people to help you. So don't let people, underestimate you or say that you can't do it, or that your health is not good, or you're too old, or all of these things. So really be strong, be confident, and, love your body. So that's what I think.
I love that because I'm of the firm belief that once you have a desire, it's already done in the energetic
For
realm.
sure.
And we just
For
need to
sure.
find alignment. And I know for myself, it's always a case of our desires at this time is so great for the most part because it's supposed to go against the status quo. It's supposed to break open the stereotypical beliefs that have held us in a certain frequency for generations. And so I just want to thank you for being one of the unapologetic women who are taking a stand for desire, who are taking a stand for the holistic approach to our lives, not just our life and our conception of life, but for everything that is important to us, because everything is connected.
For
Um,
sure.
and for saying to women, if you want the baby, there's a way. You just need to
Yeah.
find the people who will hold the belief to find the
Yeah.
way with you. That is
For
the
sure, that's well said. Yeah, and that's true. Like, just really believe. Like, it starts with belief, and it starts with knowing that it's going to happen and being positive, right? So, yeah, starting that journey and finding those right people, that team that's really there to support you, to take you through the whole journey, to really hold your hand and to support you. And if you're not connected with your doctor or the person you're working with, find someone who's really going to be there to really believe in you and to really do everything in their power to help you yeah, with your journey.
Ellie, I love you. I hope that all the listeners will connect with you. We will drop in all the various links that they
Yeah.
connect with you, with the social media or your website, or actually booking the call with you. And to all our listeners, this woman is dynamo. So
Oh,
so
thanks,
worth
Al.
connecting with, so worth following on LinkedIn as well. I just cannot thank you enough for the work that you're doing and for actually gracing us with your time today.
Thank you so much for having me, Al.
Absolutely. And all the listeners, thank you so much for your time with us today. We are looking forward to speaking to you again next week with another unapologetic woman sharing her story. Until then, have an amazing day. And don't forget, you get to live your legacy unleashed, unlimited, and unafraid. Cheers.